And welcome to the show. So we are now live. I'm gonna put this. I guess I need to drop the link to this in the chat. The 2K G League show. Let's see if it comes up. All right, post this link. Okay, and I'll go on to Twitter and post it right now. Come by. All right. Make sure it's working. All right. Right now. Okay. Cool. Make sure there's a way. I can also my phone. I'm gonna use. See if there's a way I can make sure that the notifications. I mean, not notifications. I'm getting any comments during this live chat. Make sure. All right. Yeah. So if in case I get any comments or questions from you all, I can be sure to answer them. So I have that right here. Okay. Well, welcome to a pre-draft show. I'm so excited to, y'all. This is what I have been excited for months. This is like Christmas to me. Like the G League draft. I've been excited for this for so long. I've been monitoring all these trades, these picks. And I was pretty close for the most part. I forgot about one pick, I think, which was I mixed it up with College Park and Texas Legends, but pretty much I got everything right from what I had put out earlier in the week. But as you can see here, I had posted all the pre-draft rosters. While we're kind of going into the draft, I've also already started working on some of the depth charts. Try to do as much as I can in order. But this is pretty much what we'll be talking about in this draft show. We'll be seeing kind of what's going on pretty much during live. The way the G League pretty much has done it over the years is they're going to tweet out usually 5 at a time. Or they'll, I guess for the first 10 to 15, they'll put out maybe one tweet at a time for each pick. But we'll pretty much just keep going through each pick and just talk about each player that's kind of coming in as the draft board. So let's review the draft really quickly. So South Bay Lakers, they have the number 1 pick. I've been thinking this for a while. This is all because of the trade with Joe Wieskamp that they were able to get this pick. This was like a year ago. They've been lucky enough where they've been able to keep it and not trade it. And so South Bay, they have the number 1 pick, and I'm very curious. What are they gonna do? I was hoping we were going to get a list this year of the players like they did last year of who's going to be in the draft pool, but they didn't put it out this year. So we'll kind of be finding out live who's going to be in it. Now, one thing for y'all to understand, let me first go South Bay. So one thing for y'all to understand is that with the G League draft, I mean, these could be guys who are former NBA players, maybe guys who were even cut this past week and a half from the training camps. We could be seeing, I don't know, we'll find out in the next 18 minutes, but who knows, maybe there's Dylan Jones, from the Washington Wizards. He didn't make, the Wizards final roster. Maybe he entered the G League draft. We don't know, because remember, the guys who are entering a draft, they don't have returning rights with previous teams. So they're technically entering in, and then they'll have G League rights with that team that they get drafted by. So, I mean, maybe Dylan Jones, maybe Kobe Buffkin. I mean, again, some of these guys are also, maybe they'll get a 2-way contract somewhere. Right now, we're kind of seeing how the season's going to play out for the teams because it just started in the NBA. And so that's kind of a big thing that I think is really important to keep in mind. Now, something I do want to talk about before the draft is something I always talk about is this thing I like to call the trickle-down water effect. Here's why I think it's important to understand. So when the NBA, things happen in the NBA, it does affect the G League team, the affiliate. So, for example, let's say a player gets hurt. Let's say right now South Bay, Jackson Hayes, DeAndre, and one of those guys gets hurt. Right? So Christian Coloco is probably going to be spending more time with the LA Lakers if their centers do get hurt. So if that happens, that does open up opportunities because then, like I said, it's a trickle-down effect. So an injury then moves a guy up to the NBA roster. So that does mean a guy like Kyler Kelly, he could be starting. They recently traded, I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name, Sheikh Mabik Jayong. He's from Santa Cruz Warriors. They traded for him recently. But, again, maybe he gets minutes. They also acquired, I believe, as a tryout player, Braxton Mia. So, again, these are guys who, if an NBA player, gets hurt in a rotation, even if the guy on the two-way contract doesn't necessarily play with the NBA affiliate in games, he might still be spending more time with them in practices. So, like, for example, JD Davidson, obviously, I don't know how much time he really is going to spend with the Rio Grande Valley Vipers this year anyway. But, because of the Fred VanVleet injury, he's going to be spending a lot more time with the Houston Rockets because they need that depth. And so, I think that's going to be an important thing just to keep in mind as you're kind of looking at the draft here today. I'm very curious, like, are they going to go after maybe some guys, like, for example, the Indiana Pacers, right? The Pacers have been struggling a lot with injuries, especially at point guard. Even the Grizzlies, like, those guys like Ray J. Dennis, Talon Peter for the Grizzlies, Javon Smalls, like those guys who could have spent time with the Boom or the Memphis Hustle, they're not probably going to be spending as much time right now with while guys are getting healthy, the main rotation players, and so that does open up minutes for some of those guys on the Hustle or on the Boom. And I'm curious today in the draft, do the Hustle or the Boom, like, do they go after point guards? Like, again, it's all about who is ultimately going to, be guys who can help this rotation for the G League roster in this draft today. But also, these GMs are looking for players who, can end up being potentially a good player for them down the line. Let's talk about Sam Morril. I think Sam Morril is probably one of the best examples of a guy who was the number one pick in the 2022 G League draft. He came up and now is playing rotation minutes. I think he started with the Cavs yesterday at 18 points. Like, he started the Cleveland Charge, then eventually got a two-way contract, then eventually got converted to a standard deal, and is now a rotation player for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so that's, I think, a huge thing also to keep in mind with today's G League draft. You're finding guys who could potentially not only be rotation players for maybe the G League team, but honestly, if that translates to the NBA level, I think that's huge, for these GMs. And so that's, I think, an important thing I want to talk about, the trickle-down effect, finding talent with the guys in the G League draft. And yeah, I think that's kind of it with that in terms of that process. So South Bay Lakers. So I think for now, while we're kind of going into waiting till 1 p.m., see if they did post a list. Let's see. NBA G League draft. Okay, so this is last year. No, see if they had just posted this year, but okay, so it looks like, we'll probably be finding out at 1 p.m. Each tweet. So let's kind of talk about South Bay. I think so. Looking at it, point guard depth, is that something they need to fill more of? I'd be curious, could they draft somebody at point guard? I know Augustus Marcelunas, he was out for a good amount I don't even know if he actually played preseason with the LA Lakers. So if he's not fully healthy, then I don't know really. And Bronny, he may or may not spend time in South Bay, maybe a few times. So really, you're looking at RJ Davis. Who's backing up RJ Davis as your point guard? Is that something South Bay is going to look at today with the number one pick? South Bay, I believe they have the number one pick, and I think they also have the number 25 pick. So maybe later in the draft, they could also target a point guard. Maybe they look for whoever's the best player at that point at number one, and just go for that player. And, again, thinking that maybe that's a guy who can help the LA Lakers down the line. So that's kind of the way I would maybe imagine them doing it. But, point guard, I would say that's, something I think they could use more depth at. Let's see. And I was going to talk next while we're continuing to wait until 1 p.m. Osceola Magic. Now let's talk a little bit about this trade that happened yesterday. So the Osceola Magic initially didn't actually have the number 2 pick. It was the Windy City Bulls. But the Windy City Bulls, they actually traded Mac McClung. They traded for Mac McClung from the Osceola Magic. And, given Mac McClung's the status, his value as a player, he was literally the G League MVP. Not surprised that they wanted the number 2 pick. So, I think this is a huge trade for Osceola. Kind of looking at their depth chart here. So I think one thing I would be kind of looking for, if I was them, is maybe adding more size. Again, it also depends on who's the best available and best talent for the Magic. But maybe, excuse me, maybe more of, size here, because, if these are their two-way contract guys, Colin Castleton, Orlando Robinson. I actually don't really know how much time Orlando Robinson will truly spend with the Osceola Magic this year. But because, he's an older player, he's been between the NBA and the G League. I know sometimes the Osceola Magic, they don't really have their guys spend, especially their more older two-way contract guys, like spend as much time with the NBA G League affiliate. It's more with the NBA side. So like Admiral Schofield in previous years, Trevelyan Queen really didn't spend a lot of time with Osceola as much as he did his previous years. So really curious if Orlando Robinson really would spend time with Osceola. So I really could see it be more Colin Castleton and Will Baker as a backup. But, I'd like to see maybe them potentially draft a center or a big. Who, again, I guess it also depends on who's best available and who's a good fit for the Magic system. But, I think that's something that'd be, really curious to see, like, who they can get at 2. Okay, so Capital City Go-Go, this is a team I know super well. Look, I'll talk about the Go-Go here because the Capital City Go-Go, this is pretty much a brand new team this year. The only returning player is really Leaky Black. A lot of your guys, have pretty much gone overseas gone overseas or went to different G League teams. The last season I remember they had 5 returning guys, but this year they only have 1. And so it's a pretty new squad. We kind of start with guys like Keyshawn Gilbert, Kadari Richmond, and Jonathan Pierre, who are, 3 guys they got after the draft on Exhibit 10s to play with the Go-Go. And then, there's also a guy they found from Mexico City Capitanes, Akalda Gak. So he's from I know he put the Mexico City Capitanes, I believe he's from Australia. And so they trade for his returning rights, this past summer. So, and he played with the Wizards Summer League team as well. But they also went after guys like Alondis Williams, Scala Bicier, got their returning rights. And then, of course, they still have two-way contract guys like Tristan Vucevic, who did play yesterday against the Dallas Mavericks, which is pretty cool because I've gotten seen him play so much. And then AJ Johnson, who I know he's I think he was rehabbing because he didn't really play in preseason, but I feel like he's going to spend more time with the Go-Go. That's just my, gut feeling because there's a lot of guards on this team. So let's see. I like his athleticism. I think he's a really talented player. He's still really young, so let's see what happens there. And obviously the big name too was Sharif Cooper that the Wizards were able to get. I think something I've talked about this on my tweets that I think the Wizards and the Go-Go, they have this tendency to go after former 5-star recruits in high school, and that's something I've noticed. Like RJ Hampton, Hamdou Diallo, Sharif Cooper, they've went after all these guys. I mean, Scala Bicier, they've gone after a lot of 5-star recruits over the years. And Michael Foster was another one. So I'm not surprised with Sharif Cooper. When they announced that, pretty cool though to see that he's going to be in DC. I actually unfortunately won't get to see him play because I'm actually moving away, but it's still cool, to see that he's going to be with the Go-Go this year. So, but yeah, so Go-Go wise, their depth chart. So Go-Go here, they have the number 3 pick, the number 5 pick, and the number 6 pick. The number 5 pick, I believe they got last year. It was a 5-team trade. Number 3 was actually to get RJ Nembhard, his returning rights with the RJ Nembhard, who played with the Capital City Go-Go. He was traded to the Windy City Bulls. So I think it was 3 and 6. So they got a bunch of picks here. So, looking at their roster, if we only look at G League players, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they could ideally draft all 3 of those guys. And they also do have the number 31 pick, the last pick in the first round of this G League draft. So, the question is, do they draft all 4, guys in the first round and then, potentially roster all of them? So, their biggest, I'd say, maybe more point of emphasis, I think they need to add some more bigs to the roster. I think that's a huge thing that could, be really helpful for this team. And so, Yeah, I would say that's probably a big thing as well. And so maybe adding more size, but I think also adding more small forward depth, I think that would also be huge. Right now, Will Riley's playing more minutes, especially with Bilal, not playing with the Wizards. So if you kind of take him out, they're a bit smaller there. I mean, you could put Jonathan Pierre at the three. Maybe you start him at the three, or put him behind Leaky Black, but I just do think they could add some more size there as well. So comment here. I believe Long Island still owns Trey King's rights, not Osceola. So I do remember Trey King's returning rights at the end of last season were owned by Long Island. I don't know if there was a trade, or what happens sometimes is excuse me, in the off season is that the teams will like let players go if they don't really plan to bring them back, and it just doesn't make sense to trade them. So it's possible maybe in the off season that Trey King, he just the Long Island didn't decide to bring him back, and so maybe that's why Osceola was able to get him. I don't know if it was then as a tryout player at that point. So that's because there are not, just because I guess not every G League team does like official tryouts. Like some will do like private like invite only tryouts. So maybe that was a situation that happened with Trey King. So that's something because I did notice that too as well, that Trey King's returning rights actually were with Long Island, but I'm assuming then maybe that Long Island let go of his rights and Osceola had then probably acquired them as well. So, but let's see. Okay, so we talked about Gogo. Let's see, we're at 5 minutes. Wow, 5 minutes of the draft. Okay. Again, if you have any questions, any comments, like feel free to put them in the chat. We can continue to talk about it, and yeah, we'll continue to keep going through this draft show. So let's see, Motor City Cruise. Okay. Oh wait, no, we didn't talk about Grand Rapids Gold actually. Let's talk about the gold real quick. So Grand Rapids Gold, kind of looking today, I think there were some guys who I noticed maybe they put them in as trial players, but Antoine Kimmins, Wesley Cardet Jr. Those were a couple guys I noticed who I believe might have been tryout players for the gold. So I guess you also see Bryce Willis, who's like been the gold for years. Javonte McCoy, he was acquired in a trade. He played with the Motor City Cruise last year, but unfortunately he was also like hurt towards the end of I think it was like December, January he got hurt, and so his season got cut shorter, unfortunately. But and then these two guys, Curtis Jones, Tamar Bates, they're two-way contract players. Spencer Jones, Dan Goodwin, who's a guy they traded for recently. Terrence Hargrove Jr. Actually, gonna look him up. That name sounds really familiar. I think he might have actually been. Okay, he was one of the Exhibit 10 players for the Nuggets. So, okay. And then, yeah, power forward, probably Deron Holmes II. It was reported that he's already going to be spending time with the gold already. So, not too surprised about that. Kessler Edwards, I know he was a guy that was also an Exhibit 10 player. And then Coleman Hawkins was another one of your Exhibit 10 players. Initially was actually with the Warriors, and I think was going to sign with them, but ended up deciding to go to the Nuggets instead. Moses Brown, obviously, big player there. And then Justin Hamilton, they trade for his returning rights from the OKC Blue. So question here, do you know where Chris Martin and Bryce Goodwin are playing this year? So to answer that, I believe Chris Martin, I was looking actually at a tryout list. I was like clicking on one of the tryouts. I don't remember which team, but it says a list of names of people who are like trying out, who sign up on the list for them for these teams. And I actually did notice Chris Martin's name on there. So I don't know if maybe for Bryce Goodwin and Chris Martin, they decided to, I guess, like let go of their rights. And so maybe that's why those guys end up going somewhere else. So I'm not too sure yet, because I didn't see their names pop up today on the like list for the acquired players on the different teams. So it's possible they're free agents, or maybe they're part of a draft pool today. So I guess we'll see what happens there. But yeah, we are 2 minutes away, guys. Like, I'm gonna actually just get some water really quick and take a quick 2-minute break, and then we'll get straight back into it. All right, we are back. So yeah, I think this is it's 1 p.m. The G League draft is starting right now. Literally have no clue literally have no clue who's going to be in the player pool. So we're going to be finding out like live like who could be the number one pick. So let's see what South Bay does here. Pretty much again, I'll pull up their depth chart. So let's see. I'm curious. Will they draft a point guard? Maybe they'll look for a big, maybe some small forwards. So let's see. Oh yeah, I think they also updated here too. Yeah. I will say this actually, as we're kind of waiting for the pick to come in, I thought this was actually pretty cool. This is actually all the way back from 2001 when their first G League draft. Actually, when it was the D League. So yeah, really cool. I mean, Chris Anderson was the first player to ever, he got his first NBA call-up in the league, and it was the first pick. Like, this just so cool. Like, if you remember Chris Anderson, the Birdman, Miami Heat, like, just really cool. I mean, wow, the draft had 12 rounds, 96 picks. That's insane. I think it's only now 2 rounds at this point. I think it was 2 rounds last year. The previous year, I think it was like in 2023, it was like 3 rounds. So gradually, the picks have gone down, or the rounds have. But still, it is cool to know that back then they had like that many players. And again, I mean, talking about the growth of the G League and the D League, like back then, like for any of y'all who don't know, like teams had to share affiliate players. Affiliate teams, like not every NBA team had their own affiliate. So there were teams that like 3 of their guys, like 3 of their teams would be like 3 NBA teams would send one like their guys to like one G League team. And so that was always like a really crazy thing back in the day. So that was always fun for sure to be able to check out. And yeah, I think I kind of miss those days because it was always kind of random. The Trailblazers would send like Gary Trent, I think, to the Texas Legends. And for any Simons, they would send to, I think it was back when the Agua Caliente Clippers. So yeah, it was back then. It was pretty cool. Comment here, 6 rounds back then. Oh wow. Okay, so yeah, it was 6 rounds. That's actually pretty cool. Thank you, Infinity Sports Group. Thanks. So, all right. See if we got any update here. All right, still waiting for the pick to come in. Let's kind of just keep talking about who other draft players. So, Ime Udoka. Wow, that's actually really wild. About Ime Udoka, that's pretty cool. I didn't realize he was actually one of those guys back in the draft. So that's actually so cool. Let's see. Yes, I do remember Robert Covington when he was with the Vipers. That was always a fun throwback. I think when I started following basketball, it was like right when he was just getting called up to the 76ers. So that's pretty cool back in the day. Oh, yes, LiAngelo Ball. I do remember when he was drafted. I think maybe that was 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago in the G League draft. So pretty cool throwback. Brandon Knight, I do remember that him. He was fun. He was definitely fun to watch. And then, yeah, I talked about earlier in this episode, Sam Morrell, a guy who, obviously is probably one of the notable players who's, had success with G League draft, who came up to the Cavs. So let's see. Actually, let me just refresh, see if we got the number 1 pick. Let's see who South Bay took. Don't see anything yet. So let me check and refresh this. Okay. Imagine I wonder if it's similarly in the NBA where it's like 5 minutes are on a clock for each player, or for each team. So let's see. But James Johnson, huge throwback. Wow, that was a fun name. I'm actually curious. I wonder if he'll ever come back to the Pacers this year. But Jimmer Fredette, I do remember when he was drafted to Westchester. That was really fun to watch him back then. And Lance Stevenson, I do remember him too. Yeah, he was a really fun player to watch as well. I feel like, yeah, what he did with the Grand Rapids Gold was that was a really good team back then. I feel like that was it there. All right, let's see if there's any update. Number 1 pick, South Bay Lakers select. Okay, we're still waiting. Let's see, check this. All right, nothing yet. I guess we're gonna find out. Let's check to see if there's any news by anyone. Oh, okay. Oh, here's news. This is by Michael Scotto. Okay, here we go. Dylan Jones is expected to be the number 1 overall pick in the... Let me just pull it up actually for y'all. All right, breaking news, guys. The number 1 pick is Dylan Jones. So Dylan Jones is expected to be the number 1 overall pick in the G League draft. Jones was the number 26 pick in the 2024 NBA draft and appeared in 54 games for the OKC Thunder last season. Obviously, he didn't play a whole ton with the Thunder, but he did win a championship. So now the question is this the pick is South Bay taking Dylan Jones here? Or are they going to trade the pick? That's what I'm really, really curious about right now. Let's just go back to, let's see, G League. Okay. Let's see if they've announced it. Okay, they haven't updated it yet, but that's helpful to know. Okay, so Dylan Jones is the number 1 pick. Yeah, like I was talking about earlier, guys who get cut from the NBA training camp team who don't have returning rights, which is Dylan Jones in this case, was going to be eligible for the G League draft. Now, one question is Kobe Buffkin also in the player pool? I don't know. Like, they didn't put out the pool, but maybe he is a guy that's also in this pool. So is Dylan Jones going to play for South Bay? Well, let's kind of first start looking at the depth chart here. Look, if you put Dylan Jones here, I mean, you're putting Dylan Jones at the 4. So pretty much you put Dylan Jones. So I think it's... Okay, so... Yeah, so Dylan Jones here at the 4. You got Anton Watson at the 4. Arthur Kaluma. All these guys I think are around like 6'8", if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, maybe again this is about drafting. Maybe they're focusing right now on drafting best talent, who's best available. So, but let's see. I'm really curious: is South Bay keeping on to this pick, or are they actually trading it? Actually, let me just retweet this too. All right. Okay. So let's see if we've got an update from the G League. Not yet. Okay, not yet there. All right, let's continue to see what happens. Also, let's go Jake Fisher too. I know he does stuff to G League as well. Okay, so all right. So if South Bay is taking Dylan Jones at 1 and they're not trading him away to a different team, then we're gonna start assuming Osceola is next at 2. So let's see what is going on. No update here. Let's see if we got any update. See if there's any other news or information. Oh, also, let me go back to the comments section. Yes, yep. Dylan Jones at number 1. Yep. All right. Let's see. All right. Let's make sure. I'm gonna refresh. Still waiting to see for him to update it. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think if, as of right now, I'm gonna go with the assumption that Dylan Jones is joining South Bay and he's not getting traded anywhere else, like to a different team or anything. I mean, you got Dylan Jones, you got Anton Watson, Arthur Kaluma. Thinking about the 3-point shooting on his team. I mean, I guess that works there. I like the fit. I mean, next to Koloko and Kelly, be a good team there. You also have a Duke Theoro. The only concern I have is what was Dylan Jones' 3-point shooting last year? G League stats. It was 33%. I mean, oh wait, this is the Thunder. Let me look at his G League. Wait, no, yeah, because this was OKC. Oh no, this was the blue, I think. It has to be his Julie stats because he was playing 30. Yeah. Okay, so I would say his 3-point shooting. I guess I'm wondering, is that going to be a concern with South Bay at the 4? I mean, we still have Nate Williams, Cumberland, so I think they're okay there. Anton Watson. I mean, I don't know if his 3-point shooting is as great as it has been right now. I mean, he's still continuing to work on that. So Arthur Kaluma is a really athletic guy, but I don't know, I don't remember his 3-point shooting being like also a huge thing in college, because he's a very athletic player. So I think he's more near the rim. So okay, I mean 36. So all right, let's see if there's other news. Just check with Jake Fisher, see if he had tweeted anything. See Michael Scott tweet anything else. Okay, let's see. G League has tweeted out officially. Nope, still nothing yet. Spam. Okay, let's see if they updated it here. Okay, still nothing. I am curious though. Like, I am wondering, if they are doing. I wonder why it's taking so long. Does this mean there's a draft? Is there a trade going on? Is that why? I feel like it usually would be quicker. But all right. In the meantime, somebody's asking me, can you go to the Legends breakdown? Actually, so I didn't. Let me see. I don't know if I got to the Legends here, but here's what I'll do. I'll go back to. I think I did do a depth chart for the Legends earlier. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, so I want to find the depth chart I did. So this was what I made. This was back in October 8th. So here's the thing. Let's kind of talk about Dennis Smith Jr. while we wait for the next pick. So Dennis Smith Jr., I believe it was Mark Stein who said that the Legends are trying to get his returning rights from the Wisconsin Herd. Now, the Wisconsin Herd technically acquired Dennis Smith Jr. last year because he was actually trying to play in the G League to make a comeback last season during the showcase. But then what happened was the Wisconsin Herd got his returning rights, and then the Austin Spurs couldn't actually play, he couldn't play for the Austin Spurs. And so it was actually done a buyout. And remember, G League buyouts typically mean that the team still retains the rights of the player. And so they actually had a buyout with Dennis Smith Jr. He never actually played for the Wisconsin Herd. And so they do own his rights. It seems like they've been trying to make this trade for a while. And so that is one thing that he wasn't on the list today of players that were acquired. But it's also because I'm wondering if the Legends still have to make the trade. And so I don't know if that trade is going to happen today during the draft, if it's going to happen right afterwards. This is something I've known for weeks, that that's going to have to happen if he was going to join the Texas Legends. And so assuming that this is their depth chart here, I have Dennis Smith Jr., and this is where I'm a little bit curious. I imagine Ryan Emhart starts at point. Dennis Smith Jr. comes off the bench. I don't know if you can play Dennis Smith Jr. and Ryan Emhart together at the same time. They also did trade for Mark Armstrong from the Long Island Nets. And so, he was also, he was another player. I think he's from Villanova, point guard. So, and then Matthew Cross, I do remember he was also signed, not the cricketer, Matthew Cross. I think he's is he small forward? Maybe it's a forward, but another forward there. So you got him. Where'd it go? Yeah. So you got him potentially backing up maybe Jeremiah Robinson Earl. You also got Delano Banton, who also signed, Exhibit 10 with the Mavs. So he'll be playing the Texas Legends this year, potentially backing up Miles Kelly. It seems that Musa Cisse will actually be probably starting center, maybe behind, and then Jamarian Sharp comes off the bench. So also let me pull up the Legends. I know I had their list today from, yes, so Sheldon Edwards. I'm not familiar with these three guys. I think they'd have to be, I think they were probably tryout players. So let's see, Sheldon Edwards, really quick. He's a guard from Loyola Chicago. Let's see, 6'4". So imagine he's probably more of a 2. Yeah, 3. Okay, so he's a good 3-point. So he's probably a shooting guard. So you're adding some shooting guard depth there behind Matthew Cleveland, Demoy Hodge, Cole Anderson. Basketball. So Cole Anderson, 6'4" guard, also big 3-point shooter. So obviously Legends were adding size here, or I mean shooting here, and then the next player, the forward, 6'9" forward. See a small forward, power forward, 32%. Okay, so probably more likely a small forward here. So they pretty much added yeah, they added some shooting guard depth here, and then add some small forward depth as well. And that was, yeah, I think that was pretty notable. Where did the Legends go? Yeah, and then Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Matthew Cross, who's probably actually going to be their other backup small forward, or maybe their backup 4 potentially. Zaire Smith also returns of his team after playing with them last season. So he's also a notable guy that, he didn't get called up this last year, but he was traded to the Legends, I think in February, from the Cleveland Charge. So I'm not too surprised that he's back, because I feel like when you trade for guys a little bit later in the season, sometimes those guys do come back. And then, Jamarian Sharp, we talked about, he's been with the Mavs Legends the past year. Demoy Hodge, his rights were traded around this past last season, but eventually landed up the Legends. I talked about Mark Armstrong, and then these are the 3 2-way contract guys. All right, let's see if there's any update with the draft. Also, I'm seeing some notifications. Let me check on that. Let me go. Yeah, there's no. Fortunately. Yeah, somebody's asking me if there's a pre-draft pool available to the public that's available online. Unfortunately, I can't find it anywhere, so I'm assuming the G League didn't put it out this year. Okay, so back to this. Okay, let's see now if there's any update on the draft. Let's see. Okay, wow, we got the picks. Whoa, okay. Wow. Okay, so interesting. All right, let's talk about this. Dylan Jones at 1. Again, assuming there's been no trades. Dylan Jones joins South Bay. Now, Tyler Smith, I was thinking about this yesterday, actually, because he also is a guy who could technically enter the draft. If you remember Tyler Smith, he actually is not. He's been around the G League for a while. He played at G League Ignite. He played also a lot with the Wisconsin Herd this past year. He was with the Milwaukee Bucks. He got drafted last year, but then he was actually then cut by the Bucks. And so they decided they want to go, I think, with Andre Jackson Jr. and Amir Coffey, and he was the one that, got cut. So, Tyler Smith, joins Osceola. Let's kind of look here at the depth chart. You're kind of putting him here. I mean, Tyler Smith, I would consider him like 3 or 4. I'd say maybe a 4. Yeah. So, okay. So you're putting pretty much Tyler Smith here at the 4. I like it. Add some depth here. I mean, if Jamal Cain doesn't end up spending a lot of time with the, Osceola Magic and more time with Orlando, then you have potentially, some depth here where now you have Tyler Smith. So say hypothetically Jamal Cain is up with Orlando. Now you have Philip Wheeler and you have Tyler Smith and maybe Jacob Callaway if he makes the final roster. But I like this. I like them taking a swing on a young guy. Let's see if he, see how he does in Osceola. But I like this move. So, okay, Ace Baldwin. Now I'm not too familiar with Ace Baldwin. Let's see. Ace Baldwin from Penn State. Okay, so the Go-Go, they drafted a point guard. Okay, so. All right, so they drafted a point guard here. So assuming, you know, that assuming that if AJ Johnson does not spend minutes with the Go-Go, you have some depth here. I mean, say both of these guys, the Wizards players like AJ Johnson and Sharif Cooper, then spend time with the Wizards. At least you have some backup depth, because sometimes what happens is these NBA teams, the G League teams, their two-way contract guys don't always go on the road. I've actually noticed that a lot with the Go-Go's. Some of their guys will spend more time, with the G League team, like at home, but not on the road. So that sometimes opens up minutes for like guys, maybe here like Ace Baldwin. So pretty cool. I trust the Go-Go. I think they have a really good eye for scouting talent, and so yeah, I'm really impressed by like what they've always done as well. All right, let's see. Okay, Adama Ball. So Adama Ball, what's interesting is he actually did sign initially with the New York Knicks on an Exhibit 10, but he's actually somebody he's from Santa Cruz. I actually came across him last year. I really liked his game a lot, and he's a tall point guard. He's from France. Let me just pull up his Wikipedia. 6'7" point guard. He was initially gonna play for the Westchester Knicks, but obviously I guess something fell through and now he's not. And so let's kind of go over back here to the Gold. You pretty much now have a backup point guard here, and I think this is a great move for the Gold. You got bring in a guy who, a really young player. He's only 21 still, so he played at Santa Clara, the same program that Brandon Podimski and Jalen Williams had also gone to. So I think that was a really big part about them getting about Adama Ball going to Santa Cruz and him going now into professional. I mean, he was from France, so really like this move by the Gold right here. Now I'm not familiar with Nolan Hickman. Now let me actually look at the chat here. Let's see. So all right. So yeah, okay. I really liked Ball coming out of Santa Clara too. All right, they dropped the next 5. So let me talk really quickly about Nolan Hickman, and I'll move on to the next 5 guys. So Nolan Hickman, is he a center or point guard? Oh, another point guard. So it seems like they're going after point guards a go-go, because it seems like that's something that's more of a concern that they're probably looking at. I mean, is Nolan Hickman, how tall is he? 6'2". So point guard seems to be something they're really looking at more closely. So, all right, let me go over. They probably posted the next round. So, okay, 6 to 10. So Cam Carter. All right, Cam Carter. So he's from LSU, 6'3", guard. Is he a point guard? Probably maybe more of a 2 here, I'm assuming. Okay, but so the Go-Go drafted Cam Carter. Okay, so Cam Carter, so shooting guard potentially here. So put him right here. So I like this because they needed more depth here. I was kind of still thinking, I feel like they need more small forward depth. I'm wondering if any of these guys are actually going to, go and play for, if any of these guys that the Go-Go are drafting are going to play for them, or are they going to be part of trades? I don't know if maybe they're actually trading to a different team. So let's see. Steven, this name sounds kind of familiar, but Stefan, maybe not. Okay, so he's from Pepperdine. Let's see, 6'8". He's a 1'9". So probably more of a small forward, I'd say. Yeah, okay. So pretty much the Motor City Cruise are drafting a small forward here. And so I think they I think you could put John Akamadu. I think you can put him probably more at the 4 because he's super athletic. And you could put Stefan Todorovic. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it, but you could put him potentially at the 3. So I like that move here. Ethan Taylor. I'm not too familiar with him, so let me look at him real quick. Taylor, basketball. It looks like he's a center, maybe. Or no, he's a guard. Okay, I'm assuming this is the right guy. Ethan Taylor, 6'5" guard. So shooting guard. Okay, 38% from three. So Swarm are pretty much adding. They're adding some shooting guard depth here by bringing in Ethan Taylor potentially. So, all right, and then the last player, and I know they probably did put in the next five. It would be AJ Hoggard. So AJ Hoggard, let's see. So AJ Hoggard, he's a guard from Vanderbilt, 6'4". Let's see. So it's not the strongest 3-point shooter, but 4.6 assists. So maybe he's more of a point guard. But okay, so potentially a point guard here. Let's see. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's kind of a point guard. So I'm gonna assume they've drafted a point guard. The 905. So the 905, I like this. I like them adding depth here. Let me see if I can pull up their. I might have it from earlier. Actually, yeah, we could go out of this. So I think I did one of their depth charts earlier. So yes, this is from the 29th. So you have Jarkel Joyner, but then who's behind Jarkel Joyner? Is it going to be AJ Hoggard? So let's see. Pretty much. You also have Chucky Hepburn, who I believe is also Chucky Hepburn, who I think is also point guard for them as well. Yeah, so Chucky Hepburn, and then Jarkel Joyner, and then maybe AJ Hoggard. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, I know they've announced the next pick, so I'm gonna kind of get moving to the next one. So, all right, okay. I might go through these like really quickly. So not too familiar with these guys, but Cario Aquino, let's see. So he is a shooting guard. So adding some guard depth to Texas, like we were talking about earlier. And then for the Grand Rapids Gold, let's see. So this is Keenan Blackshear. 6'6" shooting guard. He is. I guess he seems like he's more of inside. Oh, I guess he might be a point guard, or maybe he does both guard, like a dynamic guard. So, okay, so, all right, so they're adding that. The Gold are adding that depth to their roster. Which so they have a lot of guards, like shooting guards, on that team. So that is getting kind of interesting because they probably have to make some decisions there. Vinicius Silva, okay. I think I heard about this. I think I did hear about him, and this is not the same guy. I think I did hear about his name entering the G League back in like September. I saw some tweet about it. This is really cool. I think the OKC Blue, they're really good at finding guys, I think, in the G League draft over the years. I mean, Noah Starkey, if you know of him, he's a player who was with the OKC Blue over the years, and he was part of that G League championship in 2024. So, I really like the OKC Blue. I think they're really good, like even similarly to the Thunder, finding guys. So, really like this move right here. Josh Coheen, basketball. From USC, UMass, he's a power forward. So you're adding pretty much forward depth. You're adding pretty much forward depth here to the Skyforce. Yeah, pretty much really quick. Yeah, so I think this is going to be huge because I know they have Ethan Thompson. They have guards here. Alex Fudge is going to be a forward. They have a center here. They have a guard, really great guard, Myron Gardner, Jameer Young. I didn't have a chance to look at these three guys, but I believe they're tryout players. Steven Settle, Bez McBang, Gabe Matson, Dane Donchi. These are 4 Exhibit 10 affiliate players. I think the smart thing is they kept that one spot open, because if they do cut Vladislav Golden, they can keep him with the Skyforce as an affiliate player, as an in-season affiliate player. All right. So yes, and then you're adding more for depth right there as well. All right, let me see if they can move. If now we have the next. Oh, yeah, and then right here. So Carice Warren. Let's see, it says his. So he's a 6'9" forward. Imagine he's probably either a 4 or 3. But okay, so they're adding more depth there, which was kind of what I was thinking. I think they could use more power forward depth to Legends. So I like that they made that move. Wait, number 11, did they get a pick? Oh yeah, they did have it. All right, let's see. I'm gonna actually just go here. Oh, already not updating it here. I guess it's just gonna be. They'll probably update it later. Okay. All right. I know there's a lot more picks. Okay. So 16. So one thing I think I remember, Trey Jackson. I think he played in the G League last year. So what happens is if guys do get cut from the G League team, just like last season, then they technically can enter the G League draft and be drafted to get returning rights. Because as long as a guy doesn't have returning rights, they are eligible to enter the G League draft. Let's see, Ebenzener Duwana. All right, so 6'11" forward. Oh, from JMU. Okay, cool. 6'11" forward. So I'm assuming he's probably more of a big, but yeah. So, or maybe he's more of a 3. But I mean, it seems like he went to NC State. I mean, played a lot more there. So, seems like a bit of like taking like a prospect for sure. So, and then let's see who got him. All right, yeah. So it was Osceola. So Osceola's taking another swing on. We had here earlier. We're taking a chance on another 4-3 here to add some more depth. John Harge. Let's see. He played at Adams State University. He's probably a recent grad, or no? Well, finished in 2024. So maybe he took the year off or played overseas this past year. Let's see if we can find stats. So, let's see. We played for Idaho back at the NCAA level. I don't know too much about him, but he's a 6'8" forward. So, okay. So adding the blue are adding some depth there. All right. And then we talked about Trey Jackson, Jaden Seymour. Not too familiar with him. Jane Seymour from East Tennessee State. He had 15.4 points a game, 6.6 rebounds, 2.1 assists, 1.1 blocks. Shoots 31% from 3. So pretty much a small forward that the Westchester Knicks are taking a chance on. I think I did Westchester here. Now I guess I can take it off a dominant ball. So, all right. So pretty much, adding a 3 here, and I think that's going to be some helpful depth. These guys who are in a G League draft are probably also, competing against, these tryout players for those final, roster spots. Remember, each G League team gets 10 players on a G League roster. I believe I think the training camp roster for the G League will be 15, but they have to get it down to 10 by November 7th. So, yeah, just want to mention that as well. Somebody said, "Yo, my brother is Ethan Taylor. Please shout him out." Oh, that's so cool. Elliot. Yes. Well, thank you for mentioning that. And yes, congrats to Ethan. Again, any of these guys who make it in a G League draft, like, it's always huge. Like, this is like such a big opportunity. So I'm so happy to get to follow all these guys' journeys. So yeah, this is going to be a really fun year this year in the G League for sure. Chris Mantis. All right. He's from Maine Black Bears forward. Oh, okay. So he's from the University of Maine. So forward, let's see if we can find stats. So 6'7" forward Probably a three. Oh wow, 43.6% from three. So he's probably more of a shooter here. Okay, so adding. So who added? So okay, so Birmingham has added. They added some shooting here, which I think they needed some three. I thought Jalen McDaniels was on Exhibit 10 and was going to potentially join the squadron, but I'm not actually sure if he was Exhibit 10 or if it was Exhibit 9, because there has been no trade this past week for his returning rights. So maybe you have some more small forward depth that you need to add, especially shooting that Jalen McDaniels would have at points if he was on the squadron. All right, I know we have to move on to the next teams. All right, 21 to 25. So Tyrin Lawrence, the Skyhawks. So, all right, it's Tyrin Lawrence. Okay, so Georgia, he's 31.6%, 2.4 assists, 3.2 rebounds. So probably more of a 2, I'd say here, but yeah. So okay, so Skyhawks are adding a 2. That'd probably be behind MJ Walker, probably Nikola Dursic if he ends up playing minutes there. So adding some depth there. Okay. 905 have also drafted JP Pegues. I'm like y'all, I'm gonna get all these names right by the end of the season for sure. But all right, NBA or basketball. So 6'1", okay, it's probably a point guard, I imagine. But from Auburn. Okay, cool. So Chris Beard. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. So I think that's always like a neat thing when you can go for a guy from there. So I think I did do the 905. So let me pull them back up. Or maybe I didn't, but I did talk about them earlier. Jarkel Joyner. They already drafted another point guard in AJ Hoggard. So I think this is a smart move for them to go after another guard here at 22 for the 905. Elise, that name sounds really familiar. Lisa, did he play in the G League last year? Oh, he did. Oh yeah, I think he did play in the G League. That's why I think I know his name. G League. He played for South Bay. Okay, what happened? So okay, this is another example similar to Trey Jackson, where if you played in G League, previously, you can still technically play again if you're cut. I mean, you can still sign and get drafted in a G League draft again, even if you're waived, because then you don't have returning rights, so they're eligible to enter the draft. Blue made no selection. South Bay has drafted Shelton Miguel. So Shelton Miguel, he is a 6'4" guard. He played at Maryland. Let's see if we can find his stats. I think we talked about maybe a point guard. So I don't know, is he a point guard? Or maybe he's more of a 2. Oh, wow. Okay, he shot 42% from 3 at Maryland. Okay. So South Bay here, they're adding... Let's kind of go back here. So pretty much they have... was it Shelton Miguel? Okay, so Shelton Miguel. So James Reese V and Shelton Miguel are going to be 2 guys competing for potentially, a roster spot. It's tight, I'd say, with South Bay. I mean, you have RJ Davis, Augustus Marcellinus, so that's already 2. Tivian Jones, that's 3. Nate Williams, Jaron Cumberland, that's 5. Anton Watson, that's 6. Arthur Kaluma, that's 7. Kyler Kelly, that's 8. So I think they have 8 spots. So these guys are all competing for these roster spots. And so let's see for those last 2 spots who makes it the final stretch. All right, 26 to 31, and then I'll look at any notifications I'm getting from anybody. So, all right, Omar Stanley. Let's see, Omar Stanley. Not familiar with him. Boise State Broncos forward. College stats. Okay, did he go to? Oh, okay, he played at St. John's earlier, but he went to Boise State. So 6'8" forward. So he's probably more of a 4, I'd imagine. Yeah. Okay, so pretty much it added a power forward to Cruz. So Cruz, yeah, pretty much needed some more depth here. I like that because again, you also never know. Guys do get injured in a G League too. Like even though it's also the two-way contract aspect. Like if a guy gets hurt in a G League, like it opens up an opportunity. So Ben Couplet Jr. He's actually previously played for the Windy City Bulls. I think. Let me just make sure that's correct. Yes, he did. So wow. So I think this is his first year, and out of the 3 years he's been with the Windy City Bulls, that it looks like he didn't end up coming back to Windy City, and it looks like he didn't enter the draft. And now the Noblesville Boom have taken Ben Couplet Jr. So he's been around the G League the past 3 years. So pretty cool to see him join the Boom in their inaugural season. Des Watson. Let's see. Oh wait, is it this? Yeah. Or no, that's football. All right, Des Watson from Loyola Chicago, another Loyola Chicago player in this draft. Let's see, 33.5% from three, 3.7 rebounds, 2.6 assists, 1.4 steals. That's really good. 12.9 rebounds. Okay, so adding a shooting guard here, and so that was right. The Salt Lake City Stars. So Stars, let me see if I can pull up really quick. Yeah, so really quick, Stars. Okay, so yeah, Parker Van Dyke, who they traded for today or yesterday, he's gonna add shooting to their team. Hank Morgan, I'm not too familiar. Let's see, what's he do? Hank Morgan, basketball. I don't know what's going on there. Let's see if I can. So he played at Hamilton College, so he's a D3 player. Okay, so he's like a 6'5" guard forward. Okay, so pretty much adding depth here. I mean, these are your affiliate players right here. Cameron McGriff's a returning rights guy. Justin Harmon, I think, played with the Stars last year. And Pedro Bradsaw, Mo Bamba, Max Atmos, all returning rights guys, and then your 3 two-way contract players. Hank Morgan and Parker Van Dyke, and I guess now you add Des Watson to that. So you're adding pretty much some shooting guards who are probably going to, round out the end of this Stars roster. So you pretty much have 1, 2, you actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So potentially, maybe three of these guys are fighting for a spot. Jabri Abdur Rahim, he, I believe, played for the Kings Summer League team because the name sounded so familiar. I think he played for the Kings Summer League team this year. Let me see. So actually really cool if that is. Yeah, it is. Okay, so he is going to play at the Kings Stockton this year. That's awesome. Carter Witt. Let's see. So Carter Witt, that name sounds from, no, he's from Belmont. Okay, so he 6'4" guard, 33.7% from three, 6 assists. That's really good. 4.7 rebounds. Okay, so another shooting guard for the Stars here. So we're adding pretty much 2 guards. So pretty much 4 guys are competing for those last 2 roster spots. Jay-Z's here. That name sounds familiar. I feel like I've heard this name before. Okay, right. So he played with the Delaware Bluecoats. That's why I know of his name. So he's probably a similar player who was, cut at the end, or was cut and then joined, declared for the G League draft and then was acquired by the Go-Go. That's a lot of point guards that the Go-Go have drafted. That's very interesting that they've decided to draft that many. Now, I'm, again, curious who actually is sticking with them. But, yeah. All right, I'm going to take a quick 2-minute break. I will be back, and then I'll start going through the second round. And, yeah, thank you all again. All right, we are back. Let's start now on to round 2. And let's see. So probably, where are they now at? Have they done round 2? Oh, yeah. Oh, they've already gone. Okay. All right, we'll just keep going through this. I'll just kind of talk about it, and then gradually we'll kind of keep getting caught up. So, all right, let's start with 32. And not every team has to make a selection. You saw in the first round, OKC Blue didn't make another selection in the later part of the draft. So, all right. So 32, we have Texas Legends. They went and drafted Sean Dura-Gordon. So, okay. You're adding a guard here. Let me see if we can find his stats. He's from Queens, Old Dominion. Oh, so ODU. Okay. 9.1 rebounds, 6'7". Okay. 1.2 steals. So pretty much adding like a 3 here for the Legends. Again, I think you're looking at these guys who are with the Legends are pretty much competing for those last roster spots. I mean, the guys in this draft who got drafted by Legends, and even those tryout players as well. Stockton didn't make another selection. Jermaine Coznard. Let's see. Stars. So another shooting guard. So actually, cool. He played at Mountain Verge. So again, that's like 5 shooting guards who are going to be competing for those last 2 roster spots with the Salt Lake City Stars. Again, any of these guys, we could this entire time be thinking that they're getting drafted, but they could also be getting traded. We'll find out. I'm going to be checking the teams to see if there's any trades that are going on. But yeah, let's see. So next player, the Skyforce have drafted Deshaun Thomas, 6'9" forward, who played in Istanbul in Turkish TBL. He played at University of Montana. All right, let's see his stats. So he was overseas last year, but in college at Montana, he had 5.4 rebounds, 1.6 assists, 1 block, 11.6 rebounds. So I kind of get the sense he's more of a 4. So pretty much Skyforce are adding some power forward depth behind Alex Fudge. All right, I like that. Again, putting together guys on the final end of the roster. Bryce Thompson. So this is a Valley Suns only draft pick in this draft, and I thought they made a move yesterday to get the 2nd round pick. So I think I counted today, they have 9 players under a roster, including maybe those tryout players. So I'm wondering, what are the odds that they go after some guys who go undrafted and they sign them and they bring them into the for the training camp, because they have 15 again. Like each G League team gets 15 players to bring onto their training camp roster. So Bryce Thompson, he's a 6'6" shooting guard out of Oklahoma State. Let's see, 2.7 rebounds, 1 steal, 13 points per game, 34% from 3. So, they're taking a swing on a guy, but let's see how he does for the Valley Suns. Darius Maddox, let's see. Oh, okay, George Mason. Cool, Mason guy. 6'5". Oh, he played at Tech. Is he? I wonder if he's from... Oh, he's from Ocala. Okay. Almost 14 points per game, 3 rebounds, 1.1 assists, 1.1 steals, 35% from 3. But if you look actually as college, he was almost 39.4% from 3. So it's definitely a good 2 here, shooting guard that the Skyforce are looking at. And I think the Skyforce are also one of those teams that I think are really... they're one of the really good teams that I think at developing talent in the G League. And obviously we see it with Derek Jones Jr., Gabe Vincent, Max Drews. We see them really be good at developing guys with the Skyforce. And so, I really like this move right here by the Skyforce. All right, so Pierre Crockrell II. Interesting. So I see here he's actually was with the Wisconsin Herd. I wonder if that means he was drafted. Let's check Real GM. This will tell me what his status was. So he was a tryout player last year with the Wisconsin Herd, but he didn't end up making the final roster. So again, another example of a player who was drafted, who was an example of a player who was in the G League but then waived and was able to then enter the draft this year. But he did play overseas, it looks like. So he went overseas this past, I guess last season, and so I think that's always huge for these guys, is going overseas and continue to like, I'd say like continue to build, like, you know, to continue to grow as a player, but also continuing to, you know, show like what they can do as they try to make it back to the G League. Somebody asked here, when does G League season start? It starts November 7th, I think. G League calendar. Yeah, November 7th. That is the official day. I'm wondering if the rosters have to be set November 6th. I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise. So, yeah, that's pretty much it to answer your question. Marquise Hastings, Grand Rapids Gold. Let's see. Stats. So, he played at Robert Morris, Western Michigan, Butler. 7.8 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 0.8 steals, 0.7 blocks, 14.4 points per game, 38.7% from three. Okay, so you're pretty much adding a small forward here, the Grand Rapids Gold. So kind of looking back again at the Gold, yeah, you had some depth here behind, you know, Terrence Hardgrove Jr. and Dayton Goodwin. Honestly, Dayton Goodwin I could see also playing the two. So you're adding some depth here, which I like. So, all right, moving on to the next portion, which is 41 to 45. So the Maine Celtics have drafted Vance Jackson. Now, Vance Jackson, I feel like I remember him. I think, did he play in the G League? I feel like he did. Yes, he did. He played for the Raptors 905. Actually, let me see if I can find it somewhere else. So, yeah, so he's been between the G League and the NBA. The G League the past two seasons. He's been between different teams, the Stars and then 905. So, you know, again, another example of a player who was cut and then entered a G League draft because they can do after returning rights. Chandler Baker, another player that the Legends. No, not this author. Chandler Baker. So it's college stats. He played at Colgate, 91.7% from free throw. That's great. I mean, I guess only out of 12 sets, but still okay. And 7.6 points per game. So definitely it seems like more of like a prospect type of player for the Legends. Again, they're pretty much adding, you know, another shooting guard to see if he makes the final roster. All right, Wisconsin Herd are taking on, they've drafted Anu Steger. It says he played for the Motor City. Oh, see real GM. I think he played before. Okay, so he was a tryout player last year with the Motor City Cruise, but he didn't make the final roster. So, you know, he entered the G League draft. Again, example of a similar thing where, you know, you play overseas and continue to, you know, grow as a player, but also, you know, you can show teams what you can continue to do. Dante Ingram, this name sounds a little bit familiar. I've heard of his name, Dante Ingram. Oh, Dante Ingram. Wow. Throwback. Texas Legends 2018 to 2019, 2019 to 2020 Greensboro Swarm. Wow. That's pretty cool to see that he's, you know, getting back in the fold. Another guy for Loyola Chicago. Like, if you're a Loyola Chicago fan, like, you know, this is a good day for you all because there's a lot of guys in this G League draft from Loyola Chicago, so that's pretty cool. But, you know, cool to see Dante Ingram back in the G League again. All right, 46 to 50. Kobe Webster, Memphis Hustle. I talked about point guard. I don't know if this is a point guard. If Kobe Webster. Oh, no, point guard. Yeah, 6 foot. Yeah, I mean, so pretty much, yeah, I feel like they needed to bring in a point guard because, again, Javon Smalls is probably playing more with the Grizzlies right now. So I think this was the right move by the Hustle, at least in the second round here. Skyforce added another player. They added Tyler Hawkins. I think they say he's a point guard. Let's see. Try to find his stats, but I'd say, yeah, another point guard here. Did he play the G League before? Okay, so he tried out for Osceola 2 years ago, and it's just been overseas the past 2 seasons. He's played in BSN, which I believe is the league in Puerto Rico, which is typically more of like if I remember right, that's usually later, like in March, April, May timeframe. So it's pretty cool to see that he's back in the G League fold. Jason Hubbard, not the MD doctor. Jason Hubbard from Taylor University Trojans, or played for the Taylor University Trojans. Let me see if I can find his stats. All right, let's see. So he played. So when did he last play college? So he played in college till 2023. He's a D2 player, international. He played overseas the 23 or 24 years. So looks like he's a guy who is trying to play again professionally. So pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool to see that for these guys. Let's see. Somebody also is asking me here, how is Maine's roster? Okay, yeah, let's talk about Maine really quick. So the Maine Celtics, I know I talked about. So, all right, Maine Celtics right here. So Max Shulga, Wendell Moore, Jalen Bridges, Hayden Gray, Baylor Shireman maybe at points, Kendall Brown, Aaron Scott, Hugo Gonzalez, Ron Harper Jr., Mari Williams, Hassan Ward. So we'll see who actually from the actual Boston Celtics team spends time, like Baylor versus Hugo. I don't know if Jordan Walsh will. Maybe he'll like one game, but I don't know. Like it just depends right now. But I think with Maine's roster, they adding in Vance Jackson. I think you're adding in pretty much a forward here for the Maine Celtics, 6'9" forward. So I'd say that's pretty much. Let's see where we go. Right here. Yeah, so you're adding in like some forward depth here, especially if Ron Harper Jr. is spending more time with the Maine Celtics. I think it's a smart move to bring in some size right here. But yeah, all right. TJ Weeks was drafted by the Wisconsin Herd. 6'4", so 6'4", 185 guard, 85.5% from free throw. That's pretty good. 14.3 points per game, 1.1 steals, 1.5 assists, 34.5% from three. Okay, so definitely a shooting guard here that the Herd are trying to add to their roster. All right, now let's go over. Okay, we're now at 51 to 62. Wait, why is... I'm assuming if the fact that it's just 51 to 62 is making me think, because they skipped 55, 56, 57. So I'm thinking the teams didn't make a selection. So Ahmad Rory from Noblesville Boom. Let's see. All right, so Ahmad Rory is drafted by the Boom. He's a point guard. This is something I did talk about, that I think they were going to need some point guard depth. So I like this move right here. Nicholas Timberlake. Oh, okay, another Maine Celtics player. Right, I forgot they had 2 second-round picks. Nicholas Timberlake, 6'4". Okay, so from Kansas. So 6'4" guard, 30% from three. So definitely a shooting guard. So if we... Let's see, do I still have Maine? So pretty much you're adding some guard depth here. Bringing in Nicholas Timberlake. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm curious. Like, is he gonna get a chance at minutes if they already have Jalen Bridges, Wendell Moore, Hayden Gray? So let's see. Again, also I'm gonna be curious to see who out of all these guys in this draft actually is staying with their team or is getting traded. Franco Miller Jr. He is a 6'2" guard. I think he played at Ole Miss and then FGCU. Florida Gulf. Okay. And then he pretty much he was overseas. Okay, so that's pretty cool to see this. Real GM, let's see. Because he hasn't played in a G League before, so he just pretty much went overseas after he went undrafted last year, it looks like. So he is a 6'3" point guard, it looks like. So, okay. So pretty much the Santa Cruz Warriors are adding point guard depth here. Which I like that move, actually. I'm trying to see. I might have done think I did at one point. The Santa Cruz Warriors, did I do their depth chart? Let's see. I may have done it. I feel like at one point I did do the return. Let me try Santa Cruz. See if I had a depth chart I might have made. I feel like I did. Oh, yes. All right, this is a little bit outdated, but Taron Armstrong isn't in the mix anymore because he went to Dubai. So let's just kind of put Pat Spencer there. Although I feel like Pat Spencer really isn't going to spend a lot of time with Santa Cruz anyway. But you got LJ Cryer. Blake Hinson actually ended up going to the Rip City remix. So they have added, and let me see if I can find their more, and then the list from today that I have put out. All right. So they did bring back guys. Like you have Tavian Kingsley returning rights. You have your two-way contract player in Alex Tuhey. I think I remember Chance McMillan. I feel like did he play with Santa Cruz? I think he did earlier. Yes, I think I do remember him from. Let's see. Oh no, I think he might have been actually one of their Exhibit 10 players. So Chance McMillan. I think some of these guys are Exhibit 10 players as well, but pretty much they're adding some guard depth here by bringing in some point guard depth here by bringing in Franco Miller Jr. Now, Motor City Cruise at 59 drafted Ray Harrison. So Ray Harrison basketball. So 6'4", he's 190. Let's see if I can find his stats. So 2.9 assists, 2.7 rebounds, 1.5 points per game. 33.1% from three. So yeah, I mean, I think it seems like he's more of a shooting guard here. So Crews are adding another guard to the mix, which I think it doesn't hurt to add some guys. Again, at this point, these are the guys who are competing, 4 minutes again, or who are competing for that last roster spot, potentially against these guys who are also acquired as tryout players. And the last pick in this G League draft, at least to my understanding, according to this, is from the Westchester Knicks, Fusinian Drame. And here's the thing. So, similarly a little bit in the NBA, these teams can retain their rights for 2 seasons. I don't know if actually it might change now with the new CBA, but initially, before the new CBA, these teams would have been able to retain these guys' returning rights for 2 seasons. So even if it's one of these guys, they don't join the team this year, they could always come back to next year. But obviously, that's more of a matter of they probably want to play in the G League now if they enter the draft. So, but let's see. So, Drami, he's from Mali. Let's see if we can find his stats. So. All right, so yes, he had 6.9 points per game, 5.7 rebounds, 1.1 assists, 0.7 steals, 0.4 blocks. He shot 45.6% from 3. That's actually pretty good. So I think he seems like more of a 3 or 4. So really, this Westchester pretty much added some depth here at the 3. So yeah, seems like that's it. Let me just double check. Oh wait, it was this. Yeah, no, this was it. So I think that's it. Now let's check to see if this has been updated. Probably did update all of this. Yes. Okay. Now the thing I'm curious about is, were any of these guys traded, or these? Because again, there's always trades with guys, and then some of these teams are going to go after and get other guys afterwards. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm wondering if that is it for this G League draft. I don't know if I think that might be it in terms of the roster. Yeah, because I don't know if there's anything other trade wise. Yeah, I think if we see any trades, we'll pretty much. I'll pretty much just posting on Twitter, but I think I'm gonna kind of call it for the draft show. Pretty much, let me explain what's next in terms of these G League rosters. These guys are going to be competing for the next 10 days to make the final 10-man roster for the G League. So we'll see what happens, for these guys who got drafted. Similarly, they'll get drafted, they might get cut, and they might not make the final roster. They might stay around as a practice player where they're not getting paid, but if say then a spot does open up, then it does open up the opportunity for those guys to play for the G League team, at points. And so a lot of those guys, the 10th man, 9th man guys on these G League teams are, they go around and end up playing for different G League teams because a lot of times, teams need to fill some bodies. They need to fill some players, as depth, like at the 9th, 10th spot. And so that's a lot of times, you'll see some of these guys are kind of going around to different G League teams. And so, let's pretty much see. And then, we'll probably, as you kind of look on social media, if you have a favorite team you're following, you'll probably see that team will announce the training camp roster later today. Also see if the team announces maybe other players who went undrafted in this player pool, in this G League draft today, who are still in the player pool, where they could also be part of the who could also get signed to the training camp roster. So, and then we'll start getting assignments too. We'll start finding out who's getting assigned from the NBA team. Sometimes they do also put that with the G League training camp rosters as well. So I'm trying to think if I had any other things I was going to talk about. I'm going to still be tweeting information about the G League draft, or any trades that are happening really for the next hour. I'm going to see if there's any trades that are coming up that I'm noticing. But I think that's it for this video. Thank you so much to everybody who came and just watched and just commented. I'm just happy we were able to do something live to talk about the G League draft while it's happening. Feel free to message me if just about your excitement about the G League, if there's any questions you have. And thank you for watching. And this is the NBA 2K G League show. Feel free to